So, you want to go ahead and grade some Japanese Pokemon cards and make some money. Luckily for you, I'm going to go ahead and talk about Scarlet EX that was released back in January of 2023. Give you guys the raw price, the PSA price, the pop number, and the gem rate in case you want to make some moves on this set. If in case you already have these cards, maybe you want to submit to grade them, but that way you have some informed decisions about what to do. The cards are not going to be any particular order, but I'm going to try to talk about the worst ones going into the best ones. So hopefully you find this information helpful, and if you do, I'll just ask you to like the button. All right. So if we don't have any questions, we're going to go ahead and begin. Starting off with the first card. The first card that we're going to be talking about is going to be Dondozo from Scarlet EX. Now this card raw price is going for around $3.90, give or take. The PSA price for this card and a PSA 10, it goes for around $26. Population wise, we're talking about 970 cards in rotation for a PSA 10. But overall cards that are already been graded, we got around 1,050 cards. Now, if you have this card and you send it to get graded to PSA, you're looking around a 92% chance that it's going to come back as a 10. Considering that you gotta pay maybe somewhere between $15 to $20 for the grading fee, not including shipping. As you can see, a $3 card going into 26, 25 is not a big play. So maybe this is a card that you might want to pass. A second card that I think is completely undervalued or underrated in this set, we're going to be talking about King Gambit. Now, King Gambit raw price for this card is going around $2.70. Whenever we're talking about the PSA 10 price, it goes for around $31 or 30ish, and the population price is around $870. Or so sorry. We're talking population wise, we're talking about 870. Now, total cards in rotation, we got around 950, giving you a 91% chance of this card coming back as a 10. Now, I think this card is completely underrated. It should probably be a little bit more popular, but we do understand that it's competing for a pretty tough spot against the one from Night Wonder or Shrouded Fable, right? So, $2.50 for a raw card to $30 and it's a PSA 10. It doesn't have much of room for margin, but overall I think it's a beautiful card that is completely undervalued. Now, for one of my personal favorites in this set, we got Sandile. Now, the raw price for this card goes for around $3.20. PSA 10 price goes for around $27. Now, the population for a PSA 10 is around 710 cards. Total cards graded in rotation, we got around 845. So giving this card a 85% gem rate. And this is going to be the lowest gem rate that you can get for the Scarlet EX set. So unfortunately, Sandile, fantastic card. It's pretty simple, but overall, whenever you see it, it's fantastically clean. Underrated card is my favorite, but as you can see, there's not much room for margin. Now, for the next card, and it's one of the brand new Pokemons, we got Cloth. Now, this card is going for around $3. In a PSA 10, the card goes for around 21, and there's currently around 821 cards for a PSA 10. Total cards graded and out in rotation, we got around 900 cards, giving you a 91% chance if you send this card for grading. Overall, if you can see, you're paying $3 for a raw card. The PSA 10 currently is valued at around 21. There's not much room for margin. And sorry, the last thing I forgot to mention, all these prices are based off the app collector. So if you want to see this information for yourself, get collector, log it in, figure it out. Now, for one of the new Pokemon, we got Fido. Now, Fido, fairly new Pokemon, probably because it has a cute tax and it's a dog, and dogs typically tend to do very well in the Pokemon market. Now, Fido's raw price goes for around $5.50. The PSA 10 price is around $25. For the population for PSA 10s, there's around 750 cards. Total cards graded, we got around 813. Now, that gives you a 92% chance for this card. Once again, paying $20 on a $5 card to get graded. There's not room for margin, so I would say this is probably also a skip. Now, another card, fairly new Pokemon. got a regional variant, we're talking about Wiglet. Now, Wiglet goes for around $3.60. For a PSA 10, we're looking around $17, extremely low. For population wise, for PSA 10s, there's around 830 copies. And for total copies graded, we got around 900, giving you a 92% chance to send this card and get back a 10. Overall, I would say this card is a pass. While it's a brand new Pokemon, looks fairly interesting, it's not doing very well currently right now, and this is after 2 years of release. Next card that we're going to be talking about is going to be Starly. Now, Starly goes for a raw price of $3.60. When we're looking at the PSA 10 price, PSA 10 goes around $30. And the population of this card, there's the total of 733 cards out and a PSA 10. Now, total cards in rotation, we got 805, giving you a gem rate of 91%. Overall, common Pokemon, nothing too crazy, something that personally I would skip. Now, going back to a new Pokemon from the new Scarlet and Violet series, we got Dolliv. The raw price for this card is around $2.90. Maybe you can get it for around $2.50. Now the PSA 10 price for this card is $21. So yes, you can see it's already a low value PSA 10. Now for the population for a PSA 10, there's around 794 copies. Total amount cards graded, we got 901, giving us a gem rate of 88 and of an 88%. Personally, I think it's a pass. I don't think this Pokemon has really caught on, so I wouldn't be wasting my time with this one. Now, for fairly new Pokemon as well, and it's doing pretty good, like aesthetics wise, and it has a chance of being one of the more popular Pokemon from Scarlet and Violet. We're going to be talking about Amarouge. Amarouge is going for around $4.80. The PSA 10 price, though, surprisingly, is going for around $20 to $30. Population number for PSA 10, we have around 780 copies. Total amount of copies that have been graded for Armor Rouge, we have 850. So still very low population cards out there graded. This gives us a gem rate of 91%. While right now the PSA 10 value of this card is pretty low, I think this room has plenty of room for growth. It's a fairly new Pokemon. The art looks pretty fantastic. It should it has a high raw price for the PSA 10, so I don't feel like that's correct. The PSA 10 should be fetching more around $40, but that's just personally me. Now, going to one of the staple cards from the set, we're going to be talking about the. Well, not yet. Actually, I'm going to release those at the very end. So, the next card we're going to be talking about is going to be Great Tusk EX, one of the new Paradox Pokemon. So this SAR, the raw price for this card goes for around $12. When we're looking at the PSA 10, we're looking around $53. Total population cards, sorry, for PSA 10s, we got around $716. Total amount cards that are graded and out in rotation, we got around 821, giving us an 87% chance of getting a PSA 10. Overall, this is kind of expected for an SAR. Even though it's a Paradox Pokemon, honestly, I believe this one has a lot of room for growth, especially with the new theory that we're going to be able to master set an AR National Pokédex. Going back, this card is going to appreciate it well just because of the fact that it's a Paradox Pokemon and we might not see it in future sets. So keep that in mind if you have a copy. Now, for one of the new Pokemons as well, obviously, is going to be the mascot of Scarlet EX, and that's going to be Koraidon EX, the SAR. Now, the raw price for this card is fetching a price of $39, while PSA 10s are going for around $70. Now, the population for PSA 10s is going to be around 3,720 copies. Total amount of cards have already been graded and are currently out in rotation. We got around 4,060 cards, giving us a 91% chance to get a PSA 10. Once again, it's a fantastic card, but it does have a lot of competition with some of the other sets. Overall, though, this is one of those cards that would be in the top of the Scarlet EX for buying and grading for a good profit margin. Now, going to what I would say are the staple cards of Scarlet EX, and it's going to be an evolution line. And if you know anything about your Japanese Pokemon or keeping tabs of the Scarlet and Violet market, you know exactly what we're going to talk about. So we're going to go ahead and talk about the first stage evolution, routes. Now, for routes, this AR has a nice healthy price of $10.50 in the raw form. A PSA 10 can fetch you around $52. Now, for PSA 10 population, we got around 2,055 copies. Overall, total amount of cards that have already been graded and not in rotation, we got 2,330 copies, giving us a gem rate of 89%. Overall, routes or the Gardevoir line is always going to do fairly well when it comes to the Pokemon market. And the fact that this one has a full evolution line with time should appreciate nicely. Going into the second stage. For the second stage, we got Crelia, the AR. Now, this card is fetching a raw price of $8.60, while a PSA 10 can go for around $40. The total population of this card for a PSA 10, we have around 2,100, and 20 copies. Now, raw price, now total population amount this card being graded, we got around $2,384. So this gives us an 89% chance of getting a PSA 10. Overall, an $8 card after paying, grading it, and maybe flipping it for $40, we're starting to get a little room for margin, but just got to be careful where you're selling it. If you're selling it online, the fees and the shipping are going to eat that up. So maybe it's one of these cards that you want to buy, grade, and sell in a local card shop. Now, going for the breadwinner of Scarlet EX, and if you already know your sets, this is no surprise. We got Gardevoir EX, the SAR. Now, this card is fetching a nice price of no raw of $99. Now, a PSA 10 can go somewhere close or around $170, and the total population of this card being graded is going to be 5,068. Now, the gem rate, there's around 5,600, almost 5,700 copies, giving us a gem rate of 89%. Now, everyone kind of knows that you can make a lot of money through Gardevoir EX, and that's why this is going to be the most heavily graded card of the set, but it has the most room for margin. Now, while the population is high and the card is fantastic, sometimes the one thing that really bugs me is cards with high population fetching the highest price. How is it rare? How is it super expensive whenever the most copies of it out there? But then again, I'm not saying that King Gambit, because it has 870 cards being graded out in circulation, is worth more than Gardevoir EX. I mean, Gardevoir EX or Gardevoir has had more of a popular reputation, so therefore I understand why it fetches the highest price. So now, as you guys can see, most of these sets or most of these cards within this set has the lowest margin for a gem rate. The lowest gem rate that you're gonna get out of this cards is gonna be around 85%, and that's gonna be Sandile, followed by Great Tusk. But outside from that, every other card you're looking like around a 90 something percent chance of sending it to get graded and coming back as a 10. So once again, Japanese fairly easy to get a PSA 10, but it's not always going to be guaranteed. Now, does that mean that you should be sending these cards to get graded so you can go ahead and make some margins or make a profit? I would say absolutely not. There's a couple cards that we should probably be skipping, that being Dolliv, Wiglet. I'll probably also be skipping on Cloft, and unfortunately Sandile too, even though Sandile is one of my favorite Pokemon. Now, we don't know what's going to be coming on next year for the megas, and any of these cards do have a mega evolution that's probably going to be helping them, but I highly doubt that some of the new Pokemon are going to be getting megas. Outside from that, I mean, if you guys stayed this far listening to this video or watching it, truly you care about making a little bit of money. So just like I said before, go ahead and like the content. I really appreciate it. I mean, outside from that, go ahead and leave a comment if you have any of these cards, or if you have any success grading these cards and selling and making a pretty good margin. Because at the end of the day, these prices reflect what's happening online, but not what happens in cards and like in card shows or local events. None of that stuff gets documented, so we don't know how much some of the lower end cards are really going for. But aside from that, my name is Hayes Justan. Hopefully, you guys had a fantastic day, and I'll catch you next time.